Hello everyone. Welcome to Confessions Jury, where people put themselves on the spot, waiting for your judgment. Sit comfortably and listen carefully, as you're about to hear today's cases. You hold the hammer and you apply the law. Let us have your verdict down in the comments section. As always, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Let's head on to our first case. Case 1. Am I the bad person for not giving up my window seat on a plane to a kid just because she threw a tantrum? I was on a domestic flight, and I had specifically booked a window seat because I love looking out at the view. It's one of the few things I actually enjoy about flying. After I settled into my seat, a family boarded, a dad, a mom, and their little girl, who looked about 6 years old. The dad had an aisle seat, the mom was in the middle, and the kid was supposed to sit in the other aisle seat. Everything seemed fine until the girl realized she wasn't sitting by the window. She immediately started complaining. "I want the window. I want the window." Her parents tried to calm her down, but she quickly escalated into a full-blown tantrum, crying and yelling about how she wanted my seat. At this point, the dad leaned over and asked, "Would you mind switching seats with her? She's just a kid." I politely explained that I had booked the window seat in advance because I really wanted to enjoy the view. The dad insisted, saying it would be nice of me and that it wouldn't hurt to switch. I reiterated that I understood his frustration but didn't think his daughter's tantrum was a valid reason for me to give up a seat I specifically reserved. He sighed and tried to push further, but I stood my ground. The girl cried for about 10 more minutes before her mom managed to calm her down with a tablet. However, the tension lingered. Throughout the flight, I could feel the parents throwing me judgmental looks, and when we landed, I overheard the mom muttering something like, "Some people just have no heart." This made me wonder if I had been too rigid. I know kids can be a handful, but I also feel like giving in would have taught her that throwing a tantrum gets her what she wants. Still, I couldn't shake off the guilt. So, am I the bad person? What do you guys think? Lay down your ruling in the comments section and let's move on to our next story. Case 2. Am I the bad person for refusing to give my half-sister any of our grandmother's jewelry after they excluded me for years? For context, I, 24F, am the product of an affair. My father was married when I was born, and his marriage fell apart because of it. My dad eventually divorced his now ex-wife, and his 3 kids, my half-siblings 32F, 30M, 28M, have always resented me for it. I understand, what happened between our parents was messy and destroyed their happy family, but I was just a baby, and they've punished me for it my whole life. Growing up, they excluded me from everything. They didn't want me around, made cruel comments when I was, and acted like I didn't exist unless they were making me feel unwelcome. The worst part was when my mom passed away when I was 19. While I was mourning my mother's death, they openly celebrated. I found out they made jokes about how the trash took itself out and threw a party less than a month after the funeral to celebrate it. That broke me, and I've been no contact with them for years over it. Our shared grandmother wasn't much better. She wasn't outright cruel to me, but she clearly favored my half-siblings. They spent vacations and summers with her, while she barely acknowledged me. She also made it known on more than one occasion that she wanted her jewelry to go to my oldest half-sister, 32F, when she passed away as the oldest female grandchild in the family since she never had any daughters of her own. It was well established to everyone that knew her that this was her intention. However, she didn't leave a notarized will, so legally, her estate went to my dad as her only child. To my shock, my dad gave the entire jewelry collection to me. He said he regretted how I'd been treated by the family and wanted me to have something meaningful. It was the first time he had ever done something to truly acknowledge me, and I was floored. Now, my half-siblings are furious, especially my oldest half-sister. She's demanding I give her some of the jewelry, claiming that since she was closer to our grandmother and she had always intended for her sister to have it, it's unfair that I kept it all. She even said I wasn't really part of the family and has been calling me selfish and accusing me of stealing what was rightfully hers. I refused. I told her that after years of being treated like garbage, I'm not giving up the one thing my dad has ever done to acknowledge me. She accused me of being bitter and petty, saying I'm using this to punish them for things that happened years ago. I'll admit, part of me feels like I'm finally getting some compensation for their horrible treatment of me. But the other part of me wonders if I'm being petty or cruel by keeping it all when the others were so much closer to her. So am I the bad person? What do you guys think of this one? Let us know in the comments section, and let's move on to our next story. Case 3. Am I the bad person for walking my sister down the aisle and saying I wouldn't do it for the girl my parents adopted? My parents were best friends with a couple named Ben and Kathy. They had a daughter who was a year younger than me. Growing up, she was horrible, especially to me. She'd steal my stuff and she'd embarrass me in school and bully me. In middle school, she passed around a photo of me as a toddler where I had no clothes on. She told everyone how I went to bed until I was 8. Turned out it was an undiagnosed kidney condition. She also tried to make me out to be a creep who was spying on girls changing. Wasn't true. It turned out to be her boyfriend at the time. But she said she saw me when some of the girls complained about feeling eyes on them. Ben and Kathy died when she was 15 and my parents adopted her and finished raising her. My sister and I were so angry at them. They knew what she was like, but they said she was family and they'd promised her parents and we should love and be there for her. After the death of her parents and my parents adopted her, she changed and suddenly wanted to be close to my sister and me. But we wanted nothing to do with her. Our parents put us in therapy and punished us for ignoring her. But we were angry with them too and went low contact when we went to college. My sister is 2 years younger than me. We're still very low contact. My sister got married a few weeks ago, didn't invite our parents or this girl, and I walked her down the aisle. At a family party at the weekend, it was talked about. Our extended family found it sweet. Then the girl said something about doing it for both sisters, and I said no way would I ever do it for her. She looked hurt and my parents told me I was the one who couldn't let a child grow up and change how she was. I said she tried to get me in big trouble with that spying on the girls changing. I said that shit can ruin people. I also told them they chose someone who was never family over their actual kids. My sister backed me up. They said I didn't have to act like it was outrageous that I'd walk this girl down the aisle too, and they said she's my sister whether I like it or not. Am I the bad person? Can't wrap my head around that last case. What do you think? Let us have your verdict down in the comment section below and move on to our next case. Case 4. Am I the bad person for closing my door on my neighbor's face because she really needed peanut brittle? Hello, this is an odd situation for me, where I just really don't know if I was being too much of a AH, but I'm just tired, and let me tell you why. I'm a 20-year-old guy, and I still live with my dad at his house. My mom was in a lengthy battle with breast cancer, and she passed during August. It wrecked me on so many levels that I was not prepared for. On top of losing my hero, I felt like I should stay with my dad to be here with him and support him. One of those things is keeping up with traditions and recipes passed down from my mom. And it's been really hard for holidays to even capture a fraction of the spirit of when my mom would do holidays, as she was the backbone of setting stuff up, preparing food, and decorating. But this is where we run into a problem. My mom, when she was alive, she would make peanut brittle, some fudge, and double chocolate crinkled cookies, and she would make like up to 30 batches of them to put in containers and hand them out to family, to friends, to me and my siblings, coworkers, and of course the neighbors. This is my first real year of making all these sweets by myself, and I'm really not committed to doing all of this baking when I'm in college, as well as balancing a job and a side hustle. I have to make more money. I'm just too damn sad with the grieving and too tired from school and work to do loads of batches. In fact, that the only reason I'm making these sweets is because they're yummy, I cannot lie, and I know my dad would appreciate them. I just started to attempt to make them. I only have made 2 small test batches, and they were good, not as good as my mom's, but this is where my neighbor knocks on my door. I answer, expecting like a Christmas card, and she said, "Hi, I was wondering if you had got any of the peanut brittle done?" So I explain like, yeah, I'm trying to perfect the recipe, but I don't know if I can send them out this year. And she asked, "Oh, Mom's name is really slacking behind this year." And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, does she not know my mom passed away? And then I'm thinking we told her the news of it spreading and her being too tired to do any like neighborhood walking around the block with her friends. So I'm like dumbfounded that she can't put two and two together, that she isn't able to make peanut brittle. So I tell her she passed away in August, and she just looks at me like with a surprised expression. She said with like almost a confused tone, "So you're not making peanut brittle at all? How about tomorrow?" I at that point closed the door, and I'm kind of just hand in a fist, because I'm about to break down in an ugly cry and other bad emotions. My dad finally comes out of his room and asks who it was. Was it a package? And I tell him neighbor wanting peanut brittle. And he looked confused, and he told me, "You haven't even figured out the right temperature yet," in like a joking way. But right as he says that, my neighbor texts him, saying that I was being a snark to her. So I tell him the full story. He gets teary-eyed because we are still grieving my mom. And he was like more lighter than usual peanut brittle for us. So am I the bad person? I feel like I could have been worse, by either yelling or just flat out crying, but me closing the door in a fast manner was all I can really think to do. I didn't mean to upset her. I'm thinking all this stuff maybe she didn't know and is processing it, but she knew my mom was barely able to walk 100 to 200 feet and always tired. So I'm just like, yeah, don't know. You've sat down, you've listened. Now, it's time to state your ruling. What is it gonna be? Let us have it down in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more cases like these. In life, we may run, but we can never hide from true justice. Stay safe, everyone.